Okay, when we're talking about the size, the location, the differentiation, whether it's in lymph nodes or not, all of these can fit into a classification system that helps us to easily communicate how much spread has taken place and how much kind of progression for the disease has already has started. So we have two main things we're going to worry about. We've got the TNM classification system, and then we just have like the staging system. Let's look at staging system first. Staging system starts at 0 and goes to 4. And it's usually in Roman numerals. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. With 0, this is similar to our in situ. Stuff is present, but it hasn't left the initial location. Stage 1, it's starting to branch out, and with each one of these, we get progressively larger as well. Stage 2 and 3, we're progressing, we're invading additional tissues. Stage 4, we've actually metastasized. And that's now in a new location. A distant location, sorry, better term there. With the TNM classification system, we're looking at the tumor, the grade of the tumor, if nodules, lymph nodes are involved, and whether it's metastasized or not. Tumor grading is done based on the level of differentiation. So if you've got cells, let's say we've got basement membrane here, we've got cuboidal cells, and then above that we've got more sort of roundy cells, and then further up we get even into squamous cells. That's a nice normal tissue. That would be a tissue 0 or tissue 1 or T1. In this location we've got maybe some tumor cells that are appearing, but the differentiation is still what we would expect in normal tissue. Tissue 2, it starts to get a little more nebulous, so maybe you've got the same down here, but maybe these cells are a little more not so nice and round. Maybe they're just kind of roundy. But you can still differentiate, like there's still cuboidal there's some here, and maybe these ones are a little more roundy too. 3, we're starting to lose almost all differentiation. We still might have some of these squamous cells down here, or sorry, not squamous cells, cuboidal cells, but maybe now all of this is kind of just round, and maybe even some of these are round. And then for T4, you can't really tell. Everything's just kind of round blobbies. Nothing's like it should be in normal tissue. So again, you're not going to be asked to classify these or grade these, but just as a general idea, this gives us an idea of the amount of differentiation that's taken place. With the ends, we're looking at lymph nodes, whether there's detectable cancers in the lymph nodes. And the number and the distance and all of that's going to tie into this too, the N1, N2, N3. Don't worry a ton about that, but N3 is obviously worse than N2. And then for metastacysts, there's no distant metastasis, or M1, there is distant metastasis. Again, don't spend a ton of time on this. This is mostly just for you to understand those other terms of how we classify things. You're not going to be asked to do this at all. So yeah, don't worry a ton about it. So during the early stages of cancer development and growth, a lot of the symptoms that are going to occur are symptoms that we've seen in different places already. So in infections and just general damage. These general symptoms are partially why a lot of people don't really seek treatment early on, because it's just stuff that they've already felt before. They think maybe it's going to pass in a little bit, and so they kind of wait. Things like fever, anorexia, palpable mass sometimes. Palpable mass is a little more significant, but people do get little masses that grow all over them, and they're usually fine, like little cysts and stuff, and that might not always be a trigger or something that's a red flag at all. Other big things, though, things like cachexia. Cachexia is like a total body wasting. So in this individual right here, this is obviously very extreme, but you could start to see tissues sort of atrophying. You have destruction of tissues, partially because you're not eating too, but just like body wasting. That's when it starts to become a little more severe. But a lot of these symptoms don't really appear for most people to be super dangerous, and so they don't really go get checked out in those early stages.